Hello, welcome back to AG Engineering. I'm Aid. To all those new subscribers recently, thank you for joining the channel, and to everyone else, I'm appreciative of the comments and glad that you're enjoying what I'm doing here. Another job on the bench for today. I'll move the camera down and show you what we've got to solve. Right, I've got a Matchless AJS fork slider, in modern terminology here, lower fork leg. There's no great apparent external damage here. There's a little crease line there and a little bit of a flat where it's been polished there. Generally very good condition, lugs are good, the little drain hole's good, and everything, the threads in there are good. But we have one slight problem with it, in that the fork leg will only go down to around about there, which is actually, you'd see, a couple inches or so up from the bottom. It starts to stick about this point. Why, I'm not sure. And say, I can't see any dinks or anything in the outside, but obviously these things have been around for a long time, and this sort of thing happens. Looks fairly clean on the inside there. So task is to try and ream it. I haven't got a fixed size reamer in this sort of size. I have got an adjustable reamer there that I've used with some success on other occasions on fork legs. That's the right size for our fork there. But as you can see, the bottom of the fork leg inside is about where that screw hole is, and with this set to the right adjustment, the reaming part of the blades ends about here, about where we actually want to start cleaning up from, that bottom little couple of inches. I've got a hone as well. Let me just fetch that a moment. These are not the right size. These are honing mandrels for the Delapina hone that I have, and the principle of these is we've got some honing stones in there, and they, as this, it's on the machine, this little arm pulls out and the stones come forward and do the honing. But we've got the same problem there, that the stones stop sort of an inch and a half or so, inch and a quarter shy of the bottom of the fork leg again, so we're not reaching that point where we want to be. Inch and a half, inch and three, inch and a half. That's about the one for this. It's not set up actually, but yeah, same issue. I can't get right to the bottom without the. They do a blind hole hone, but very expensive and not always easy to come across on the second-hand market as well. And even second-hand, these can be several £100 just for the mandrel, and then you've got to have the brass wear pads in good condition and the stones as well. So quite expensive to set up to do one fork leg. So what other options have we got? Right, a little bit of camera magic again. I'll bring something else to the table. And this is the next thing we've got in our arsenal to get to the bottom of this fork leg. This is called a David Brown floating reamer. It's a machine reamer. The reason it's called floating is because the two cutting blades there actually move side to side a little bit, so you haven't got to be absolutely on centre with your hole that you're trying to follow, and they'll always follow the drilled hole, so your positional accuracy on production stuff is remaining correct. They're also micrometer adjustable. They're graduated, if that shows up on the camera, they're graduated in thousandths of an inch, and there's an index line there, and we've got sort of what have we got on that one, 0 to 25 thou of movement per revolution of the lock ring. And what happens is, as we undo that lock ring, when we turn this up, it pulls a bar up on the inside and pulls out the two cutting blades together, if that can be seen. And they come gradually outwards, but they still float, whichever size you set them to. So that's the right size, adjusted correctly for what we want to do. Now with this type, I can only get within the thickness of that plate plus the chamfer of the bottom, and hopefully that will solve our problem. That will go pretty much run flat on the bottom of the fork tube on the inside there. There is another version. This is an S type reamer. There's another version with a different blade in it, where the blade extends to the bottom there, called an SL, for blind hole use. So hopefully this does it, because again, for these things the blades are quite a price just to change those. I've got a little range of these. They've been in various states of repair. I've actually got one I've got to refurbish a bit I bought recently, so maybe I'll feature that in an upcoming video as a little project. This one's had the tang welded on and cleaned up and various things. So how do we drive that? We've got to get right into there, fair old distance. So we can bring in a couple of Morse taper extension sleeves there, and we can get down right into that. I can't fit this on the pillar drill and keep it straight very easily, mounting that on anything. So what I've been working on is doing it on the lathe cross slide. So I'll take you over there in a moment and show you the setup. What I've got there is a piece of round stock in the chuck, and I've just turned a slight taper on there. The fork leg will go onto that taper, and then we'll set up the tailstock centre at the other end. So to get the fork leg on centre height, put that onto there, bring the tailstock centre up like that, a little bit of pressure on it. So now we've got the fork leg we know is on centre height, because that's been turned in the lathe. That's set true. We're all good there. And what I should do with, we've got the big V block in there and some packers underneath, and I've got various strips of packing material. And I'll pack that up. I'll do that off camera because it'll take a while to set up. Pack that V block up just underneath the fork leg, so that we're holding in true to the axis and we're on centre height, and we'll try and keep our fork leg in around the same position as that, so that about horizontal. because this isn't obviously a turn true surface. So I'll set that up separately, and then we'll come back, we'll remove the chuck, and we'll put the accessories in the chuck end. There's another shot of the setup, little B. With the chuck removed, I can I've got this ring, the locking ring of the chuck, spinning round there, which we don't want while we're turning, so we put on a spindle nose protector, as it's called, onto there. Like that. And just nip that up a little bit, and then so that's just nipped up a little bit. Then we can put our MT5 drill sleeve in. We can put our extensions into that, and so on, and build it up. So in the next shot I'll show you the setup with everything in place, and we'll put some T-nuts in the cross slide there, and we'll put a piece of hardwood across on some studs and nuts to clamp that down. Being hardwood, it shouldn't cause any damage to that. This hopefully should bend before it deforms the fork leg. I'll put the minimum amount of pressure on there to actually keep it clamped. Right, give you a quick overview of the setup there. So there's our taper sleeve, extension, reducer, MT2 to MT3 extension, and a reamer. That's a lot of stick out from the end of the chuck, or the end of the spindle, that is. And as I suspected it would be, there's probably about 0.7 of a millimetre there of run out at the reamer end. So hopefully that far out, our floating reamer head there will self-centre and correct that. I mean, even just moving that's a lot of wag. It's very poorly supported that far out, but to get into there, that's what's needed. I could have done with sort of just over the length of one of these Morse taper extensions. I don't really need the two, but one isn't quite enough. I've set the reamer to size there, and for the curious and for my own interest as well, I just want to see how much movement we've got there. So we've got just over our 0.8, 0.7 of movement in the floating part of the reamer. And as I say, this is right at the end of the travel, and it isn't a new lathe by any stretch of the imagination. Just check that enters there reasonably well. Yes, it does. Okay. Bit of spray. I'm going to go fairly slow on this. And I'm only going to hand feed the carriage as well, so I can feel when we're at the bottom there. And while I'm at the top where the bush goes, make sure we'll do any corrections. So I'm just going to back that off a fraction. That's barely touching that now. And I can see when I start to get close to the end. And that's just starting to cut again now. that's it, we're at the bottom. And what we can do is we can take that right back to there. And have a look down there. Back in a moment. Right, we'll get that out and see what it's like. If I have to take any more off, I have to set it all back up again, which is a bit of a pain. But I don't want to take too much out. And looking down there, that's kind of barely scraped some high spots. Don't know if you can see down there. And we'll flush it through. Right, tried that on and that's barely made a difference. Still the same there. Very little play. We've not took much out at all with that. So I'll set up again and we'll have another go. We'll put another thou on the reamer and see what it does. And lock the ring there. We're all clamped down again and recentered. Speed wise on this, I'll just kind of play it by ear a little bit. I don't want to go too fast. I could do with actually finding out recommended speeds and feeds on these. I've been trying to find some information, but there doesn't seem to be a great deal. I'm probably going far too slow. If anyone watching this has used these before, advice would be appreciated. I have used them, but whether I'm using them correctly is another matter. And as I said earlier, I know this is far from ideal, this setup. that really has took very little off. A few tiny shavings. Okay, I'll get this out and we'll try again. Right, that's actually leaving a nice finish in there. You can see just the high spots where it's took off. There's the slightest little bit of chattering going on as well, unfortunately. But still no change. I'm still reaching about the same sort of point. So I'll continue on a couple of hours at a time until we get somewhere near. Don't really want to go too much because I don't want to take material out the top and make the bushes loose in the slider, so we'll be quite careful on how much I do take off. So back in a moment and do another run. I don't know if you can see up there, but that's the finish. It's left a good finish as well. Slight lines there from where I've took the bush in and out and took the reamer back out again. Right, job done. There's our fork slider with the bush in. There's our bottom limit mark. Let's check that out. And we're sort of down to, in the camera, down to there. There's a ever so slight sticking right at the bottom few millimetres, bottom eighth of an inch. But generally, it's assembled right. Down there, and there's that little tiny bit right there, but that is absolutely at the bottom, where under normal compression you're not realistically going to get unless you're in some kind of mess. So previously, as we saw, it was sort of up there. It was a couple of inches from the end, if you like. And play wise, I mean, these are already worn bushes, they're rattling about, so they're not replacing anyway. But play wise, we're okay. Little click, nothing excessive there. Kind of got away with it. Now I'll admit, getting to the end there was quite difficult. I did have to cheat a little bit, and that's the inside of the David Brown Reamer. I took the bottom plate off so that we can get right to the end, because I haven't got the SL type cutters as I mentioned earlier. So we'll pop him back on. A little bit of oil in there. These, when I've got them, when they've been used with cutting fluids and not cleaned out, they get in a terrible state. So I tend not to use them with cutting fluids. I just use them with neat oils, not water-based stuff. I'll put him back together. These threads in the bottom here are BA, unusually, British Association of Electrical Engineers. So if you've got some of these, you've lost some screws and you think, what thread is that? There you go. That's what they are. Pick them up. You see, we're the thickness of the plate away from the bottom normally, so that's one way to cheat with one of those. So there we go, Matchless fork leg saved. a little bit extreme, a lot of extensions and a lot of stick out from the chuck, but that's the David Brown Reamer for you. And there's a few more from my my collection. Quite useful for some situations, and nice and accurate and easy to adjust. So that's it from me, and I'll look forward to seeing you on the next episode, whatever comes along, what we've got to repair again. So as always, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and bye for now.